one thing that people do struggle with is that idea of reward at the end of a stressful day.
Yep.
And the idea that alcohol de-stresses you,
Yep.
which it does.
It does.
Because it has that ability.
Let's be honest, it does.
And it does it quite quickly.
Yep.
And a bit like physical activity and everything else, alternatives can take quite a long... You have to think through the alternatives.
Yep.
Opening a bottle of wine doesn't take any thought.
Yeah.
And people struggle to find alternatives. Where can they look to de-stress?
Well, when we do that, do we want to talk a little bit about the physiology of stress? Because actually that's quite useful to understand. It's useful to understand that the stress that we feel is a natural reaction to stimulus. When we're stimulated, when we feel stressed, actually what we're experiencing is something kind of very ancient in us, which is about the fight or flight stimulus. So you've got the stimulation of adrenaline in your body. One of the interesting things about adrenaline in your body is that it takes a long time once it's in your bloodstream. It takes an awfully long time to leave. When you wake up tomorrow morning, if you've had a stressful day, yesterday's adrenaline is still going to be in your bloodstream.
So stress is adrenaline, basically.
It's one of the things, which is one of the physiological things that's going on, is adrenaline in your body. But it does take a long time for your body to process. So the idea, alcohol gives us a shortcut. With all of the downsides that you've suggested, in putting something different into our bloodstream, which sort of balances it out, so it gets back to feeling. Actually, all that we're doing really is masking the symptoms. That adrenaline is still going to be in your body,
or even making worse some of those
absolutely.
symptoms.
It's still going to be in your blood. It's still going to the adrenaline is still going to be in your bloodstream.
The adrenaline's still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the ways that we experience this kind of build up is that feeling of, I don't know whether you've had this feeling of, if you finally take some time off from work, say you planned yourself a week's holiday, you start your holiday and you instantly feel unwell. That's because your body is going, I suddenly didn't realise how much stress hormone I'm carrying around. But also, it takes a really long time to wind down.
Yeah.
You can get to the end of a week's holiday and go, now I feel like I'm ready for a week's holiday. I feel like I've unwound enough. So it's just important to realise that this is stuff that we carry around with us. We can change some of our attitude to it and the ways in which we cope with it, but we just have to be kind to ourselves and realise that we will feel stress in our body, and it will have an effect long after we've experienced a stressful situation.
So can you get adrenaline to leave your body quicker?
Exercise really helps. Anything which speeds up your metabolism really helps.
Okay, so exercise is one way to deal with stress. Is there anything that doesn't involve exercise?
Actually, leaving aside what I've said about the physical nature of stress, because actually part of that is actually if you recognise that it's going on, then you have some choices about how you respond to it. So if you can recognise that you feel stressed, and you can leverage that little bit of choice, that actually I might feel this in my body, but that doesn't mean that I have to act in a certain way. Just pile on the kindness to yourself. Spending some time in mindful meditation, just noticing the stress in your body, just breathing, focusing on your breath, just being conscious and in the moment can be really help. Taking a nap, listening to music, all of those kinds of good things which make you feel good, which give you a chance. And essentially all you're doing is you're giving your body a chance to unwind itself, to breathe a little more easily. Those are all really good, easy, straightforward ways of dealing with stress. It's important as well to say that stress is a factor of life. And even the most chilled people in the world will experience moments of stress. So again, don't beat yourself up because you've had a stressful day or because you've reacted.
But you want to avoid making it worse in many ways.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can make it worse by acting in certain ways. So if you're stressed, shouting at people close to you then makes that worse because it increases stress. So I guess that's where mindfulness is quite useful, because you can recognise the stress and that you're feeling a certain way, and give yourself a bit of personal space before you interact with other people.
Absolutely.
I found that that's been quite useful, and you're more likely to feel all those emotions and understand that a bit more if you haven't got alcohol in your system. Because like you say, alcohol really does mask it. It allows you not to feel it. And the things that I feel now that I've given up drinking, I've just not felt for probably about 20 years.
Yep.
This is a whole new learning of my feelings, my emotions,
yeah,
knowing when I get snappy, and now actually having to do with it. So I can no longer absolve myself from any responsibility from actually coping with it and dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, talking about kind of emotional well-being, one of the things, again, which has come as a bit of a revelation to me over the past couple of years, is the fact that my natural state, the place where I should be most of the time, is not happy. That's not what I'm. And there was a point in my life where I'd calibrated my emotional well-being around happiness. So any time I felt less than happy, even if everything was okay, I felt like something was wrong. Actually, learning to recalibrate my emotions around being centered and stable means that I can experience peaks of happiness as really good things and the lows as not as bad as they were. It's actually just about recalibrating.
It's a bit like blood sugar level.
Yeah, it's about recalibrating my expectations. It is not realistic that I'm going to feel joyful at every moment of every day.
And also, that allows you to sit with discomfort, which everyone will be feeling quite a lot over taking a month off drinking. That feeling of because you've taken something away that you're used to having, and you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you're a bit bored, because you're a bit agitated, or just because you can't have something you want, you feel uncomfortable. And discomfort's natural. Discomfort you can live with. Discomfort will not kill you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things I've found is that actually a lot of the time, some of our difficulty in dealing with our emotional well-being is that we lack vocabulary. Actually, if you think about the language that you use to describe your emotional state, you can be using a really small selection of words. Actually, adding some words to your vocabulary about how you feel can really help you navigate what is a surprisingly wide range of very positive to very negative emotions.
Yeah.
There is a difference between feeling upset and feeling discombobulated. Actually understanding that those are two different things and knowing what those things feel like can really help to navigate it, and can really help.
As long as you don't have to be able to spell it.
Yeah.
Can you spell discombobulated?
DISCOMBOBULATED. Sorry. But yeah, just understanding that you do have this emotional range. All of it's normal. All of it's okay. But sometimes it can be very hard to kind of navigate, particularly the lowest bits, because we don't really have good language for it.
Yeah.
So we end up with words like stressed, depressed, angry, annoyed. And actually, they're not quite right. They don't quite describe
they're all really negative and heavily loaded.
Yeah. And actually, we might want to find better words of
better
ways.
Miffed
is the right word. Yeah. I find better words of describing those things. And they can help us then in so another little, just one final NLP thing.
Go on then.
Is there's one of the sayings within NLP is the person with the most flexibility gets the best results. The more options that we can give ourselves all the time, the better overall our situation is going to be. If we have limited options in terms of our emotional vocabulary, our chances to respond to that well are equally limited. Learning some more language about our emotions can help us find other ways of dealing with it, which is going to be helpful.
Do lists of words.
Yeah, absolutely. Find lists of adjectives on the internet. Feelings words, learn them.
Cool, brilliant.
Cool.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.